Here's the scene. You're in a one-bedroom apartment you rented 6 days ago. Second floor. Nothing on the walls. A coffee maker you bought at Target sits on the counter next to a box of mugs you haven't unpacked. It's Tuesday, 7:15 in the morning. You're drinking coffee by the window, watching traffic move through Buckhead like it always does. People going somewhere, people coming from somewhere. Normal, except the apartment isn't normal. The coffee tastes like someone else's kitchen. And the woman you built 35 years with is 14 miles south, probably sitting at the same table where you ate dinner last Thursday and pretended everything was fine. That's where I was 6 days ago. My name is Dale Weber. I'm 63 years old. I'm a civil engineer. And I'm about to tell you how I ended up drinking coffee in a stranger's apartment with nothing but 2 suitcases and a spreadsheet that changed everything. Let me take you back 3 months. October. Atlanta in October is still warm enough to eat outside, and Sharon, that's my wife, had made this pesto thing she found online. We were on the back deck of our house in Druid Hills. The house I'd designed, the addition on myself. The yard I'd graded and landscaped over 2 decades. 35 years married. The neighborhood where everybody knew us as Dale and Sharon, the couple who had it figured out. Met when I was 28 and she was 26, a friend's barbecue in Decatur. She was finishing her accounting degree. Sharp, funny in a quiet way. The kind of woman who remembers your sister's birthday without being asked. I was 2 years into my first real engineering job, designing drainage systems for Fulton County. I thought, this woman understands how things work. We think the same way. And for a long time, we did. She handled the finances. Always had. Not because I couldn't, because she was better at it. She set up the accounts, managed the investments, filed the taxes. Every quarter she'd show me a summary at the kitchen table. "We're on track, Dale," she'd say. And I'd nod. Because I trusted her. Because, trust me, I'm good with numbers, was her thing. She said it with a smile, like it was our private joke. And she was right. She was very good with numbers. Our daughter Kristen came along when Sharon was 29. Smart kid. Grew up to be an urban planner in Savannah. Calls every Sunday. The kind of daughter who makes you think you got at least one thing completely right. I remember one night, maybe 15 years ago, Kristen was staying over for Thanksgiving, and Sharon and I were washing dishes. She bumped me with her hip and said, "You know, Weber, we're not bad at this." Soap on her hands. The kitchen smelled like sweet potatoes. I kissed the side of her head. That was real. I know it was. So when I tell you what I found on that laptop, understand, I wasn't looking for trouble. I was looking for a recipe. That Thursday night in October, Sharon was asleep. Her laptop was open on the kitchen counter. She'd been meal planning, screen still lit. I tapped the trackpad to pull up her browser. The tab behind the recipe was a Google Sheet. Title, Phase 2 Life. I almost scrolled past it. Almost. But something about the name, Phase 2, stopped me cold. Engineers think in phases. I know what a phase means. It means something came before it, and something's coming after. I clicked. Monthly budget. 1 person. Rent for a 1-bedroom apartment. Utilities, groceries, insurance, all calculated for a single occupant. A city I'd never discussed with her, Asheville, North Carolina. 3 apartment listings linked at the bottom. Move-in date June. 8 months from now. My retirement was in September. My name was nowhere on that sheet. I sat there for 11 minutes. I know because the microwave clock was in my line of sight, and I watched the numbers change. 10,042 to 10,053. The house was quiet. Sharon was asleep in our bedroom, the bedroom I'd built the closet shelves for. My hands were flat on the counter. I couldn't lift them. Here's what I didn't do. I didn't wake her up. I didn't slam the laptop shut. I didn't call anyone. I sat at that counter and I read every cell in that spreadsheet, every formula, every linked tab. There were 4 tabs. Tab 1, monthly budget, single. Tab 2, asset split, draft. Tab 3, timeline. Tab 4, Vicky notes. Vicky, that's Vicky Trent, Sharon's friend from the tennis club, divorced twice. Works as a financial advisor in Midtown. I'd always thought she was harmless. She brought banana bread to our 4th of July party every year. I opened the Vicky Notes tab. Meeting notes. Dated. Going back 3 years. Reviewed asset allocation. Discussed optimal timeline for separation. Set up secondary account. Routing via Vicky's firm. Phase 2. Target. June departure. Post-retirement filing favorable. 3 years. She'd been planning this for 3 years. I opened the timeline tab, color-coded, milestones, open separate savings, Done, March 2023. Begin monthly transfers, Done, 3,800 month. Identify Asheville properties, in progress. Notify Kristen, Done, October 2024. Notify Kristen, done, October 2024. 13 months ago. My daughter had known for 13 months that her mother was planning to leave me, and every Sunday phone call, "How's work, Dad? How's the garden?" She knew, and said nothing. I closed the laptop exactly the way I found it. Same angle, same brightness. Went to the garage, sat in my truck, engine off, hands on the steering wheel, 22 minutes. I wasn't shaking, I was calculating. 3,800 a month for 36 months, that's 136,800. Round it to 140,000. Hidden in a separate account routed through Vicky's financial firm. Money that came from OUR household. Money I earned designing highway overpasses and parking structures and bridge supports for the state of Georgia. She budgeted for everything. Utilities, groceries, gym membership, streaming services. Even a line item for a cat. She was going to get a cat. She did not budget for this conversation. Friday morning. I drove to the perimeter site where my team was pouring foundations for a mixed-use development, stood at the edge of the excavation, looked at the blueprints, couldn't read them. My eyes kept sliding off the lines. 40 minutes. I just stood there holding paper I couldn't process. Then I got in my truck and opened a blank spreadsheet on my phone. 2 columns, left column, what she said, right column, what she did, row 1. Row 2, row 3. I started filling them in, going back months, every reassurance she'd given me, every lie dressed up as a quarterly update. I didn't decide to do this. My hands just started typing. That's how the decision happened, not as a thought, but as a spreadsheet. I called my buddy Frank Massey that afternoon, another engineer, known him 30 years. Met him at the parking lot of a Waffle House on Ponce de Leon because I couldn't say it inside the house. "She's got an exit plan," I said. Frank didn't ask questions. Engineers don't. He said, "How long?" 3 years. He was quiet for a while. Then, "You need a lawyer, Dale, I know. You need a lawyer before she knows you know. I know that too." Saturday morning. Sharon came downstairs in the yellow robe I bought her 2 Christmases ago, made coffee, smiled at me across the island. "I was thinking," she said, "what if we looked at that cabin on Lake Lanier this spring, for retirement? Something we both enjoy." She was holding her mug with both hands. Relaxed, warm. The same woman who'd slow danced with me in the kitchen on our 30th anniversary. Same smile, same voice, same Sharon. Except I'd checked her browser history that morning. She toured 3 rental apartments in Asheville via virtual walkthrough on Thursday, the same day she opened the recipe tab. The cabin was never real. It was scenery. "That sounds nice," I said, and I added a row. Row 6. What if we looked at that cabin on Lake Lanier? She toured 3 apartments in Asheville the same day. Stay with me here, because this is where the story takes a turn I didn't see coming. I spent the next 6 weeks watching, not like a spy, like an inspector. I wasn't trying to catch her. I already had the blueprint. I was documenting load failures. Every time she said something, I wrote it down. Every time reality contradicted it, I wrote that down too. 2 columns, growing. Week 2, she suggested a trip to Savannah to see Kristen. "Just us," she said. "Before things get busy with the holidays." We drove down on a Friday, walked along River Street. She held my hand near the candy shop on the corner, bought pralines, laughed at a street musician playing Georgia on My Mind. That evening, on a bench overlooking the river, she leaned into me, eyes wet. "I can't imagine doing this without you, Dale." Her voice cracked, her hand tightened on mine. And I thought, for 1 second, 1 honest second, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the spreadsheet is old. Maybe she changed her mind. Maybe this woman holding my hand at sunset on River Street is the real one, and the one who built Phase 2. Life is someone who doesn't exist anymore. Sunday morning. Back home. I checked the shared email draft folder she didn't know I knew about. She'd forwarded 12 Asheville property listings to Vicky Trent that same Friday morning, before we left for Savannah. Before the pralines. Before the hand-holding and the wet eyes and the musician, and I can't imagine doing this without you. Row 17. I can't imagine doing this without you. Forwarded 12 Asheville listings to Vicky the same morning. I'm not angry. I'm accurate. There's a difference. Week 4. Vicky Trent came to dinner. Banana bread. She sat at our table, and talked about her new condo in Midtown and how starting fresh at our age is actually liberating. You two are so lucky, she said, looking between us. 35 years. That's rare. I watched her face when she said it. Practiced, pleasant. The same expression Sharon uses when she presents quarterly numbers. Competent, reassuring, everything under control. I realized they had the same face. The same professional calm. After dinner, Sharon walked Vicky to her car. They talked for 9 minutes in the driveway. Sharon touched Vicky's arm twice. Vicky handed her something, looked like a folder. That's when I started digging into Vicky's practice. Frank's wife knew a woman, Teresa Grimes, who'd gone through what she called a gray transition. Used those exact words. Teresa had a financial advisor who'd helped her restructure her life. The advisor's name, Vicky Trent. I bought Teresa coffee at a place on Peachtree Road. She taught for 40 minutes. She charges for it? I asked. Teresa paused. It's a consulting fee, $5,200. She calls it Gray Horizon Planning. What does she plan? Everything. The separate account. The timeline. The separate account. The timeline. The separate account. The timeline. The apartment search. The conversation script for telling the kids. She has a spreadsheet template. Let me guess. It's called Phase 2. Teresa's coffee cup stopped halfway to her mouth. How did you know that? Vicky Trent wasn't Sharon's friend helping her through a tough decision. She was running a business. Sharon was client number 6. Same template. Same timeline. Same Phase 2 title. Same method. 2. $3,000 to $4,000 a month siphoned into a separate account over 2 to 3 years. Same mid-sized city as the escape destination. Teresa gave me 2 other names. Barb Whitfield and Sandra Cho. Both had husbands who came home one day to half-empty closets and a forwarding address. Both wives used Vicky's service. Same playbook. Same banana bread at their dinner tables first. Row 23. Vicky's just a friend from tennis. As Vicky runs a paid exit planning service. Sharon is client 6's pass. Fee, $5,200. Week 5. Sunday call from Kristen. Normal. How's work? How's dad? How's the garden? I let her talk. Then I said, when were you going to tell me? Silence. The kind you feel in your chest. Dad, 13 months, Chris. She started crying. Not the way Sharon cries. Controlled, measured, with a tissue already in hand. Kristen cried like a daughter who knows she failed the one parent who never asked her to choose sides. Mom said it was her decision to share. She said you'd be fine. She said you'd understand because you two had grown apart. Did she use the word mutual? Yes. Did she ask me? Silence. I didn't know what to do, Dad. She made me promise. That one landed. Not because of what Kristen said, because of what Sharon did. She turned our daughter into a vault for a secret that was never mutual, never discussed, never even hinted at. She made our kid carry that weight for 13 months. I played Kristen's voicemail 3 times after she hung up. Dad, I'm sorry. I didn't know what to do. 3 times. Each time it hit a different wall inside my chest. Week 6. This is where I got the call I wasn't expecting. Judith Holt, Sharon's older sister, lives in Marietta. We've never been close. Holiday dinners, birthday cards, the occasional text about Falcons games. She called on a Tuesday evening. Dale, I need to talk to you. Not Sharon. You. We met at a diner on Roswell Road. She ordered sweet tea and didn't touch it. You know about the spreadsheet, she said. Not a question. How do you know I know? Because Sharon called me last week. Asked me to talk to Kristen, to make sure Kristen doesn't crack. That's the word she used. Judith turned her glass in circles on the table. She did this before, Dale. Before me. Dennis Holt. Her first husband. They were married 4 years. Nobody talks about him because Sharon rewrote the story. She tells everyone Dennis abandoned her, left without warning, couldn't handle responsibility. Judith looked up. Dennis didn't abandon her. He found a notebook. This was 1990. No Google Sheets. Same thing. Budget for 1 apartment in Charlotte. Timeline for leaving. She'd been planning for 2 years. Dennis found it, packed his truck that night, and left before she could make him the villain. She told me Dennis was abusive. Dennis Holt taught middle school science for 30 years. He remarried a nurse named Linda. They have 3 kids. He sends me a Christmas card every year. He's the gentlest man I've ever known. Row 29. Dennis abandoned me. Dennis found the same plan. He left first. Sharon rewrote the story. I drove home with both hands on the wheel, steady. The way you drive when you've just read an inspection report that says the foundation isn't cracked. It was never poured right in the first place. She didn't learn this from Vicky, didn't pick it up from a podcast or a support group. This is who she is. This is what she does instead of having a conversation. She doesn't leave, she prepares to leave. And when someone finds the plan, she makes them the villain. Vicky gave her a better spreadsheet, but the instinct, the architecture of escape, was always there. She designed it at 29. She refined it at 61. The tools changed. The blueprint didn't. Week 8. I was ready. Not ready like a man preparing for battle. Ready like an engineer who's completed the inspection and written the report. Every column filled. Every row documented. 31 rows. 2 columns. 3 years of lies formatted in 12-point Arial. Thursday morning. I chose Thursday because that's when she found the recipe that started everything. I set the printed spreadsheet on the kitchen table. Spiral bound. Next to her coffee mug. She came downstairs at 7:15, yellow robe, saw the document, picked it up. I watched her read it. Row 1. Her eyes moved fast. She reads numbers the way I read blueprints. Row 8. I moved some money into a better rate. C$140,000 transferred to a separate account via Vicky Trent's firm. Her jaw tightened. Row 17. I can't imagine doing this without you. Forwarded 12 Asheville listings to Vicky the same morning we drove to Savannah. She set the document down. Row 23. Vicky's just a friend from tennis. Vicky runs Gray Horizon Planning. Fee, $5,200. Sharon is client Dane 6. Her hands stopped moving. Row 29. Dennis abandoned me. P. Dennis found the same plan. He left first. Sharon rewrote the story. She looked at me. For the first time in 35 years, she didn't have the quarterly summary face. She didn't have any face at all, raw and frightened and, for a moment, very young. How long have you known? 6 weeks. Why didn't you say anything? I wanted to make sure the report was complete. Silence. The kind that settles into the walls of a house and doesn't leave. Dale, you told Kristen 13 months ago. You paid a consultant $5,200 to plan your exit. You moved $40,000 of our money into a hidden account, and you held my hand in Savannah and told me you couldn't imagine doing this alone. Tears first. I was scared, Dale. I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't respond. I let her sit in the silence. Then blame. You were never emotionally available. You buried yourself in blueprints and job sites for 35 years. I designed the addition you cook in every night. Bargaining. We can fix this. I'll close the account. I'll cancel Asheville. We'll start counseling. You planned for 3 years, Sharon. That's not something you cancel over coffee. Anger. You went through my things. You had no right to invade my privacy. You invaded our marriage. Then, the slip. The one that told me everything. Vicky said this would happen. She said you'd find it eventually and make it about control. There it was. Even now, even with 31 rows on the table, she was running Vicky's script, phase by phase, word by word. It's not about control, Sharon. It's about the fact that you sat across from me for 3 years. At this table, at restaurants, at our daughter's apartment, and performed a marriage you'd already budgeted to leave. She went quiet. Really quiet. The kind of quiet a structure goes into right before the inspector writes condemned. I loved you, she said, soft, almost inaudible. And for 1 second, I saw the woman from the barbecue in Decatur. 26. Sharp. Funny in a quiet way. Soap on her hands. But that woman built a notebook to leave Dennis Holt in 1990, and she built a spreadsheet to leave me in 2026. The face changes. The method doesn't. I trusted you with everything, I said. You budgeted for one. That was November. I moved into the Buckhead apartment on a Tuesday. 2 suitcases, the coffee maker, my drafting pencils, and a box of books. Frank helped me carry the desk up 2 flights. We didn't talk much, didn't need to. I didn't take the table, or the shelves I built, or the garden I'd graded. I left the structure standing. It just wasn't mine anymore. Kristen drove up from Savannah the following weekend. Sat on my apartment floor, no couch yet, and handed me a coffee from the place downstairs. I should have told you, Dad. You were caught in the middle. That's not an excuse, no. But it's a reason. We sat there for a while. Traffic on Peachtree. Her hand on my arm. That was enough. Sharon called once, 3 weeks later. I closed the Asheville account. I dropped Vicky. Sharon, you spent 3 years building an exit plan. You charged it to a consultant. You rehearsed it with our daughter. You held my hand in Savannah the same morning you emailed apartment listings. Pause. I'm not angry, I said. I'm accurate, and the inspection report is final. She was quiet for a long time. Then, you always did talk like an engineer, and you always were good with numbers. That was the last real conversation we had. The lawyer handled the rest. Clean, quiet, the way two people who built 35 years together should be able to end it, except one of them had been planning the demolition for 3, and the other found out on a Thursday night looking for a recipe. Vicky Trent's Gray Horizon practice lasted about 4 more months. Sandra Cho's husband filed a complaint with the state licensing board. Turns out, helping clients hide marital assets through your own firm isn't exactly within the bounds of fiduciary duty. I don't think about Sharon every day anymore. Some days I do, driving past Druid Hills, or when Kristen mentions something about the house. But it's not anger, it's math. 3 years of planning versus 35 years of marriage. The ratio never sits right. Frank came over last week, sat on my new couch, looked around the apartment. You okay? I'm building something, I said. What? Don't know yet, but the foundation's right this time. I poured it myself. She always said it. Every quarterly review, every tax season, every time I asked about the accounts. Same smile, same joke, same reassurance. Trust me, Dale, I'm good with numbers. She was good with numbers, just not the ones that counted. Dear listeners, that's our ending. If it resonated, subscribe to support the channel. See you next time.